Uh, Good morning, people. Plebs Maximus here. Saturday here in New Zealand. Just off on my way to work again. Had a shit week of rain, so looks like it might not be too bad today. So I need to go in and get some work done, make some money, as I'm fucking broke at the moment. As I assume many of you are as well. So got to do what we got to do. Obviously, well, not obviously, but the news has been going around today. I want to talk about this business that's happening in the UK with, firstly, the grape gang inquiries, and secondly, about the death of that young gentleman. Is it the Novak gentleman where he was stabbed by an Indian fellow, and instead of giving him medical treatment, the police handcuffed him while he was bleeding out and let him die, simply because the Indian fellow had accused him of the racism. Now, obviously, the great gangs and this death and all the things that have happened there are obviously fucking retarded. They're fucked up. They're terrible. And I'm not the type of guy to sit here and say, don't look back in anger. And I'm not inciting anyone to violence, but we're at a fork in the UK, and everyone is we're at a fork in the road. We really need to, and it's not just about them. I mean, ultimately, we're all a part of the society. We all have to do our bit. I mean, not necessarily to solve all the problems, because they can't be solved. The Thomas Sowell quote is a perfect analogy when it comes to politics. I think he said there are no solutions in politics. There's only trade-offs, and that's the game of politics, is managing trade-offs, because there are no solutions, because ultimately the problems we face in politics are fundamentally due to the human condition. So, yeah, there's only really trade-offs. But anyway, with regards to what's happening in the UK, what was I saying? We all need to ask ourselves, what are we actually fucking doing here? It's not just obviously the UK's got these probably having a tougher time with things at the moment than we are here in New Zealand. Although we're having our problems, but in different ways. But it's obviously a slightly different framing or context to our problems. But ultimately, political leaders around the West have abused and used the high trust we had in our societies for each other, and they've effectively used that in order to fuck us over for their own gain, or so they can keep their jobs, or so they can enrich themselves. Every time we attack a foreign country, from the West, if the Americans do it and we support them, it's, because of my human rights and all that sort of carry on. And those things, the things that they do in their countries may be true and they may be bad. But we're just as bad here. So it's the old analogy. You got to sort out your own backyard before you bitch about your neighbours. And our backyard's fucked at the present time. So we need to sort ourselves out first. So, where was I going with this? So we have a moral responsibility, each and every one of us, to not necessarily fix all the problems in the world, go out there, because that's part of the problem, right? You want the world to look the way you want it to look. So you go out there and judge everyone and bitch and whinge at everyone and tell your opinions about everything. And there's 8 billion people in the world, so that's never going to really solve all the problems, because it just turns into a shit fight, especially in an individualistic, materialistic world. But that being said, you don't need to change the world in order to make the world a better place. You just have to stop adding to it. We just have to stop adding to it. We just need to be better people. We just need to be moral and decent people in our own lives. If everyone did that, then 99% of our problems would disappear overnight. And this goes for everyone, including the government, including the police. The saddest thing about what's happening in the UK is the fact that the people you trust to protect you, to look after you, the people you elect, democracy is an illusion, by the way, but anyway, a lot of people believe in it. So even by your belief system, you believe these people work for you and in your best interests. They're traitors. The police knew about the grape gangs in the UK for years, and they did nothing about it. Not only did they not do nothing about it, but they actively covered it up. And you have to ask yourself, how do you turn a blind eye to that as a normal, decent person? Because that's the thing about these policemen. I'm sure in everyday life, they're probably normal, decent people who think they're helping their community. But how can you know that a little girl has been abused, or a little boy, or whatever? Their kids have been abused, and consciously do nothing about it? There had to be hundreds of police officers that knew, and government workers that knew this was happening and turned a blind eye to it. And I don't know how you do that as an individual. I can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend how you could be so brainwashed that you would let that stand. And listen, I'm not a perfect person. Obviously, we all live our lives with our blinkers on, to an extent, and there's probably things I do that aren't always positive. On the people around me. So I think that I do that affect other people, that may cause them some trouble. But I work very hard for that not to be the case, and I can certainly tell you that if I saw someone sexually abusing a child, then it would be over for them, and I would have no reservations about that. But, well, if you're a government worker listening to this, you're playing a very dangerous game, because you're being traitorous to your people. You will get away with it to a point. But eventually you're going to fuck with the wrong person, and you will get your comeuppance. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold, so not feeling too sprightly this morning, as you can probably tell. But anyway, the other thing about all this that confuses me is, why are people expecting the very people who cause these problems not only cause the problems, but covered up the problems and continue to deny the problems? The fuck thing now is, you're asking these people to fix the problem. They're never going to fix the problem. The police can never fix crime or solve crime, because they are defined by crime. They exist for crime. If they were to solve the problem of crime, they would be doing themselves out of a job. That's why these jobs will always be done badly. Right? If having a police force, if the police were effective, if having a police force solve crime or stop crime, then there would be no crime, because we've had police forces for hundreds of years. Right? An analogy I'd use for this, in order to try and get what the point across that I'm trying to get across, is this. I'm a tradesman. I'm a brick and block layer. Now, I am tasked to do a physical job. Now, if I do that job properly, I never have to go back to fix anything. I do the job, it's done properly, So my objective is literally to do myself out of that job. Right? I don't drag the job on as long as it takes, as long as I can milk it. I don't do a shit job, so I can charge them money to go back and fix it. Right? If I operated like that, I wouldn't. My reputation would be shot, and I wouldn't be able to get more work, and that would be fair enough. But my objective is to do myself out of this particular job, get the done job properly, at a reasonable speed, at a reasonable cost, and then I have to look for a new job after this one. Right? That's what a good, decent, moral person does. But if you think about it, bureaucrats, especially bureaucrats, government workers can be voted. The government, with regards to the political parties and your representatives, can be voted in and out. So I guess they're not as big a problem, but the bureaucrats, the institutions, they don't want to solve problems. If they solve the problems they purport to care about, they would literally not have a job. And that's why problems never get solved. That's why they will never get solved. But anyway, I just thought I would leave you guys with that. It's my first video posting. It's probably a whole lot of rambling and bullshit. But yeah, obviously my hearts and thoughts go out to the gentleman's young family in England that was murdered by the police. Thoughts go out to all the young women and probably some boys that were let down by the my thoughts, my prayers, thoughts and love go out to all children around the world, because child abuse is a very big problem, and it's not just the horrendous stuff that goes on. Obviously that stuff happens far too often, and that's terrible, but we live in an abusive society in general. We abuse our children when we force them to wear masks. We abuse our children when we indoctrinate them and teach them what to think instead of how to think. We sacrifice them for our own vanity and our own egos to cover up our own shortcomings and to avoid dealing with our own problems. And I think that's where we need to start with children. We need to, listen, yes, there are bad people in the world, there's thieves, there's corrupt people and all that, and all that's terrible, we should stop it. But I think we should burn the world down over the abuse of children. That has to be a red light, because that child's going to grow up to be. We have to break the cycle. The only way you can do that is to draw a hard line at children. But anyway, this is some food for thought. I hope you all have a good day, and much love to everyone out there. Cheers.